Alright, so this is the first video in our Onshape video tutorial series. I wanted to make something that was quick and concise and could be a method to get someone who's never used a 3D modeling software before up to speed enough that they could model some parts and be able to make drawings and machine them in the machine shop, or plasma cut them, 3D print them, or work on a robot model. So this is the basics. I'm going to try to keep these videos kind of short. I will do my best. I know there's a lot of information to cover. I am just scratching the surface when it comes to CAD introductory stuff. So please look on YouTube, look on Onshape's Learning Center and their Help Center for more tutorials. Feel free to message me on Slack or at a meeting if you have questions or want to learn more about something in particular. But the goal of this video series is to give you the basic skills and go through a hands-on project, so maybe you can apply that to our robot and our designs that we make in the shop. So this video I'm going to cover just how to use the basic controls and navigate the software. In the next videos we're going to be working on a project, and I'm actually going to have you follow along with me, and we're going to make this thing. And it's going to cover some of the basic things that you need to know to be able to go off on your own and model some of your creations and share them with the team and work on them collaboratively. So we'll dive into that one in the next video, but for right now, we're just going to cover the basics. So you can follow along with me. If you haven't made an Onshape account already, you can do so. It's free. Onshape.com. And you have to message me to be added to the team Onshape account, so that way you can see our files, but otherwise you can have a free account using your student email. To start this lesson off, if you want to follow along with me, when you open up Onshape and you're on the team here, you go to Teams, FRC Robotics. It's going to be under the BHS Robotics folder, Training, Onshape Video Tutorials, and it'll be under Material. So you can find the dice, you can open it up, and you can work along with me as we go through this video. So the basic controls, I highly suggest using an actual mouse with your computer. If you're on a laptop, I don't recommend using a trackpad, just because there's a lot of key features like the scroll wheel that you don't have on a laptop keyboard. So definitely recommend using that. So to navigate this model, the first thing to rotate, you right click anywhere you want and drag while you're holding the right click button. So give that a try. Get familiar with navigating the model, because we will be doing a lot of this. Zoom in and out is your scroll wheel. And also, if you don't want to, if we're zoomed in here and we want to look at something over here on this side, like on this corner over here, but we don't want to rotate like that, you can also, and you don't want to have to like zoom in and zoom out like that, you can pan over. So if you press the scroll wheel in and move your mouse while it's pressed, you can pan. So those are the basic controls of at least viewing models. As you notice, as I'm spinning this cube up here also rotates in live time. So that's another way you can maneuver. You can either click these buttons. There's the arrow keys here. You can click the faces, so that's the back side. You can click these arrows to rotate it around. So whatever you feel comfortable with. These are all just tools of how to view your model. If you don't know already, obviously 3D modeling means 3 dimensions, so you have your X, Y, and Z. Typically when we make a sketch of something, to start this, if I roll this back to show you how this was made, if we come back here to, this is the cube if we go to the first sketch, it was made on a plane. So I'm going to actually turn on my main planes here. So every time you open up you make a new, I'll bring it right to the total beginner here. Every time you make a new part, you'll have your 3 main planes and your origin turned on. You can hide them because sometimes they get in the way as you start to model. But when you start, they're there. So you can select the plane that you want to start drawing on. And then you can make your sketch here. So if I roll this forward to my first sketch, you can see I made that on the top plane. So if you look at the top plane, this is your X and Y axis. This drawing is a 2D drawing. It's just a sketch, and it exists here on this plane. As I rotate around, it's just a square. But once I use my extrude, well, once I unhide my extrude, now it's a 3D model. And that'll make more sense when we walk through an actual creation of one of these, which I'll show you in a second. But I just want to cover the views of 3-dimensional modeling here. So I'm going to hide my planes because they're kind of in my way. And now your origin is the center of your part. Whenever you're working and you're sketching, you always want to make sure your origin is at the center. It makes it easier when you rotate because it's rotating around the origin. Sometimes when you sketch, you can draw off somewhere else, and that will make it a little more challenging to work with the part down the road. That will make sense when we start actually doing the sketches. But before we dive into that, I wanted to cover some of the views here. So when you want to make a drawing of this, if we were to go bring it into the shop and make it in the shop, you would make a engineering drawing. So if I go to the tab over here, and it's almost like it's basically a blueprint. Every blueprint, you have your front view right here, and then you have your projected top view, and then your right side view. Now this view over here it's a 3D view in a 2D sketch. What this is called, this is an isometric view, which basically just means it's a rotated view so you can see multiple sides. Now, whenever we're making a part, and we want to make a drawing of it, typically we only need to include the front, the top, and the side. And then we could dimension off of that. Those are the basics. Sometimes if you have an intricate part, you might need to add extra views. And we're going to go through, you're going to actually make drawings of what we're going to be working on later, but we can add our other views here, just so I can show you real quick. So now if you think about, if you've ever made a cube out of paper and folded up like origami, this is what it would look like if we unfolded our part. So that's kind of how drawings work. It can be a little bit tricky to grasp the concept as we actually start modeling in 3D, because you have to kind of think in 3D. But like I said, for the scope of this video, I just want to give you the basics of what we'll be working with. So it's just the fundamental stuff, and then we'll do some actual hands-on follow-along work in the next video. But before we go to the next video, if we go back to our part studio, you'll notice all of these, no matter if I'm in the part studio, the drawing, there it is, or an assembly. Those are the 3 types of Onshape documents, which it'll help if I have a part in here. I'm just going to drop a part into the assembly so you can look at that. So these are the 3 types. Actually, I'm going to drop a few more in. Okay. So these are the 3 types of files that we have in modeling. You have part studios, which is what you would use to make your specific part. And then you have assemblies. So if you wanted to import multiples of the part or other parts, the assembly is where you bring it all together. We're going to dive into this as we go through our lesson with our actual project. But I just wanted to show you the similarities between all of these pages. You have your feature tree over here. It has all the features, the items that we've created and drawn. You have your toolbar up here. Now this is the main level of the toolbar. If you were to start a sketch, let's say I'm just going to click on the top plane for now, just for the sake of it. It will change to your sketch toolbar. Exit out of that. This is your part toolbar. This is more of like the 3D model stuff, so like the extrude, the adding a rounded edge called a fillet or a chamfer. That's when you add a bit of an edge to a square part, or any of the other 3-dimensional features here. With drawing, you have your views here, so you can navigate there. You have your toolbar up here for different features used in drawings. And then you have your assembly over here. So like if we added multiple parts, these are all individual parts, even though they're the same part. I just happen to bring in the same identical part. And then to tie these together, which you really wouldn't do with just these cubes, you would use these mates, and then the features would show up here. So this is the basics. I hope that wasn't too confusing or boring, but in the next video we're going to start working on this, and you're going to actually make the parts with me as we go through this.